exciting. So we're live. We are live, and today I've got Martha with me from Martha Brook. Welcome, Martha. It's so exciting to have you here. So much to talk about. You've just obviously had some exciting news come in that we're going to share with everyone. And this is your first time doing LinkedIn Live, so I hope you enjoy it. I hope you have a good time. So, Martha, I'd love for everyone listening and watching, I'd love you to do a little introduction and tell us a little bit about yourself and your business for those of those people that don't already know about you and Martha Brook.
Thank you, Emmy. No, it's lovely to chat to you. So yes, I'm Martha Keith, the founder of Martha Brook. So Martha Brook is the online home of beautiful personalised stationery and productivity tools. So we sell all sorts of different types of stationery, all of which can be made to order, they're all bespoke. Our business is 100% online, which Emmy and I were just chatting about because it's kind of quite unusual. So we've made the decision not to sell in shops, which is definitely an interesting call. I used to have a very different life. So I worked for a large, well-known healthcare company who shall remain nameless. But I've always been obsessed with stationery. I tried to start a stationery business when I was about 10, which hilariously was called Moo. And obviously there is now a stationery shop called Moo, which is because that was my childhood nickname. I was always told that I couldn't do it as a career. So I went to university. I started this kind of corporate job, and I went into healthcare because I really wanted to help people and kind of make a difference. But I found the more senior I became, the less I found I was actually making an impact, and I longed to do something more purposeful. And I'm a big believer in the power of writing things down and those kind of moments of clarity that you get when you give yourself times to pause and stop and reflect. And I really felt there's a gap in the market for a more personal, more relatable stationery brand. And that's what Martha Brook strives to be. So our brand name comes from my first name, Martha, combined with Brook from Brook Green, which is where we were living at the time. And it deliberately sounds personal because that's what we're trying to be, a brand that really kind of connects with our customers and tells our own kind of personal story to inspire them to capture their own story. So that's where we started. We started very small. And I say it was just me in my bedroom at home 7 years ago. And we've grown from there. So we now have our studio near Kew Bridge in West London. I've got an amazing team. My husband left his job about 4 or 5 years ago to become our head of operations, which definitely also brings its own challenges. We've grown from there. So we started out very small, no funding. And as Emmy mentioned in her post, last year we decided to raise our first round of investment through equity crowdfunding, which I'm sure we'll get to later.
So much to talk about. I mean, honestly, it's so much to talk about. So I was going to ask you about Martha Brook. I was wondering if that was your name before you got married. But I love the way what you did with Brook Green, where you lived, and Martha. And actually, we set up a business a while ago, me and my business partner, and we just called it the name of the street. So we looked at the street, which was Mercer, and then Mercer Street or Mercer Road or something, and then we were running a media business, so we just called it Mercer Media, and it was so easy. But I love the way how people come up with names and brands, but it really works, Martha Brook. And I love the way that it's very much about a story, isn't it? Like you were saying, you're telling a story, and also I think, I don't know, is it just me? But I love writing things down, and I love doing my gratitude, and is that something that's becoming much more popular? People are really wanting to sort of do their journaling and write their gratitude and do their planning and actually write things down rather than having it all on a computer or a smartphone.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? You think as we become more digital and we're using our phones more, we use our computers more, we would stop using stationery. But I think the opposite has happened, and that actually, our business is our target customer is very much a young woman. Although obviously we sell products for everybody, but she's our target customer. I'm sure, Emmy, as you know, thinking about who you're talking to is so important. Actually, there's been a big resurgence in people loving stationery, and especially actually in the last 18 months, weirdly, I think people find it quite comforting. And there's something very, very different about physically writing stuff down than putting it in the notes in your phone. And a lot of our products are designed to help people with productivity and positivity, and they contain a lot of thoughtful prompts and helpful tools that you wouldn't get, if you're just using your phone. We launched our first we launched our life planners at the start of this year, which are these sort of refillable, really beautiful, there's nothing kind of else like them on the market, kind of personal organizers. They're personalized, they've got really lovely, thoughtful kind of quotes and prompts, and we've had such an incredible reaction to them. I think people love that that tactile nature of being able to hold something and physically tick something off. I think genuinely can be transformational in helping you kind of be organized. But more than that, I think it's that feeling of being inspired, that feeling of being empowered, and that's really what we try and do with our products. It's more than the product, it's the kind of experience with the brand as well, and that kind of connection we're trying to build with our customers, which I think makes a difference as well as the product.
Really interesting. I love being able to kind of look back and sort of say, oh, that was, what happened a month ago or 2 months ago, whatever it might be. And also I think you're right, there's something so nice, isn't there, about ticking everything off. So you talked a lot about the brand and your connection with the customers. And I mean, and also you talked a little bit about your targeting and how that's so important. And that is critically important, because we need to know, who we're selling to and what their dreams are and their desires and their needs and their wants and where they're hanging out and all that kind of stuff. But talk to me a bit more about the brand. And it feels to me that you're very clear on your brand and your values and what you stand for and how you want to connect with customers. I'd love you to talk a bit more about that, because I think a brand is, you're obviously doing something that's really, really working. So do share some stories about that.
Yeah, I think every decision you make as a consumer is without realizing it, I think is dictated as much about a brand as a product, isn't it? So everything from, I don't know, what drink you might buy in a shop to that skincare brand that you splash out on, all these purchasing decisions you make are as much about the brand that you're buying into, whether you consciously realize it or not, as much about the product and whether it works and whether you like it. And I think everything from what something looks like, the packaging, the way the brand talks to you, the colors they use, the fonts, all of these things that are part of a brand image, really do affect how you feel. And I think I'll hold my hands up. 7 years ago when we launched, we very much launched on a shoestring. We didn't have a lot of money. I didn't pay a brand agency. And I think if I could change one thing 7 years ago, it would be that actually at the start, I would have invested in the branding, but we didn't. I did it myself. And there was a certain kind of set of colours and values that actually have continued throughout. But really the light bulb moment came for me 5 years ago when I saw a brilliant lady talk, whose book I would highly recommend, a lady called Fiona Humberston, the brand stylist.
She's worked with a lot of my clients, actually, or a lot of.
And she talked about colour psychology and branding, and it was really like a light bulb moment for me when I kind of got it a lot more. And once we got to a certain point, we decided to work with an agency to redo and sort of help the brand grow up from what I had created myself. And we chose a really lovely agency called Ditto, and the lady who kind of runs it's called Hannah, and she got what we were trying to do. She got what we created already, and she helped come up with the branding that you kind of see now. And I think, the one thing I would probably do 7 years ago is probably start from having the branding, but I didn't have the money at the time. And I think what people always say to us is that, I kind of would recognize your newsletter, or I'd recognize your social post, even if it didn't have your name on it. I think we do have a very distinctive set of feminine colors and some kind of quite strong brand values around self-kindness and creativity. And we try and do a lot of things that kind of inspire and help people. And that kind of tone really flows through a lot of what we do. And I think we've done two things quite cleverly that weren't intentional, actually. And the first is we've really tried to own our kind of brand, our core brand colour, which for anybody who doesn't know us is a very distinctive shade of, the best way to describe it is millennial pink. And to the point where people are out and about and they take pictures of things and they send it to us and they say, gosh, this really reminded me of Martha Brook. which is great. It's like cementing that brand recognition. It was never intentional, but we sort of seem to have sparked something there. And I think the second thing is we've really tried to own the spelling of the word stationery, which again wasn't an intentional thing. It started from something that's a bit of a pet hate for me and a few of the girls in the team. And we started about 4 or 5 years ago during National Stationery Week, running a kind of campaign to help people remember that it's stationery, ERY, not stationery, ARY. And it's sort of it's gone a bit mad now, where we do it every year and people seem to quite enjoy it. But we get people sending us messages saying, "Oh, I saw this and thought of you because somebody had spelt it wrong," or whenever I write stationery, I always think of Martha Brook because it helps me remember how to spell it. And so that sort of connection between us and the word has sort of happened in a way that probably wasn't intentional, but actually has been something that's an interesting way our customers kind of remember us whenever they're thinking about the thing that we sell.
That's amazing. I love that. And it's so interesting what you said about, well, I mean, well done.
Oh, Emmy, I lost you.
Oh, I can hear you. I can hear you. Have we lost each other?
No, your sound went for a second.
Oh, right. Oh, gosh. I don't know what's happening because we're definitely
No, I've got you back. I'm back if you are.
Yeah, I'm here. The Wi-Fi isn't as good. Hasn't been as good recently. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's LinkedIn or if it's StreamYard, or maybe it's us. Maybe it's me in Wales.
I don't know if it's your Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it could be because I'm in Wales at the moment. Maybe. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you. You're back fine now.
Okay, cool. So what I was going to say was really interesting, and what you were saying about the branding work is, I think it's really interesting, isn't it? Because when you're like an early stage business, and I work with a lot of seed funded businesses, you've got a limited budget, and you've got to make a call as like what you're going to spend your budget on, and getting the branding right is really important. And lots of businesses, they don't have brand guidelines, or they haven't got their visual identity and all those kind of the basics done that are really important. So it's really interesting that you're saying that that is something that if you had your time again that you would really focus on.
Yeah, but even though I didn't have an agency to do it, I did come up with our own brand identity and brand guidelines myself. I'm not a brand agency. I do have a kind of an eye for it. So it wasn't totally hopeless, but I think that investing in somebody that really knows what they're doing, I genuinely, and this is an actual fact, I refer to our brand guidelines every single day, because they don't just have in our brand colours. They have in it just helps me ground me in what I'm trying to do. And the lady from Ditto, she's absolutely brilliant. She helps you articulate and capture your brand back to you in a way that is just so spot on. And I think being able to have it written down or have it in a pack, have your brand colors, have your print guidelines, all these things I think can make such a huge difference. So I definitely was something I'd recommend to every entrepreneur, to make sure that you're really clear on those for your own brand, because they do make such a difference. And people may not notice them consciously, but I think that they do notice them subconsciously, and they can make a huge difference in the feeling of what you're creating.
I totally, and like you just said there, it's so much easier for the entrepreneur, isn't it? You've got something to refer to, you're very clear on everything that you should be doing, and I think it's amazing though that you managed to do that on your own. But I think a lot of founders would struggle with that. So you obviously created a brand that's then you've managed to do a little refresh and it's lived on. But as you said, getting some help, investing a small amount of money up front to get the basics done so that you do have those guidelines and you've got clarity on what you're using is so important. And another thing that you talked about, which I loved, is you're obviously very connected to your customers, and customers are basically critical to our business growing, and really understanding them and empathizing with them and just being there for them. And so talk to me about that, because it feels like you've got a very strong connection with your customers and that you've got a bit of a community, and I'd love to know more about your customer journey and how you look after customers and how you interact with them.
Yeah, I think I think this is the big thing now, isn't it? I do think for companies, people, especially young people, want to feel that they're buying from brands that represent their values, and that they can kind of that means something they can kind of relate to in some way. But more than that, I think Martha Brook is about genuinely trying to help people, and empower and inspire people. And for us, that comes both from our products, but also in kind of what we do as a brand. And when I look at kind of where we want to go over the next 5 years, like nurturing our community is one of our strategic pillars, because I think we genuinely feel that by investing and helping people, by helping our community thrive, we as a business will be able to thrive. And it started small, so it started with an Instagram page, and then it's sort of kind of grown from there. We started an annual stationery social where we put on an event that people could come to, which kind of blew up and became a thing. Obviously, we couldn't do it last year because of the pandemic. And then we started doing lots of kind of virtual events. So we do kind of creative workshops and anything from quiz nights to different things. And we host things on our website, and we're now building out our community in other ways, through things like our newsletter. And I think that I've lost Emmy. It's just me on the live. I think Emmy's having a problem with her Wi-Fi. I'll carry on talking. So yeah, I think community is a super important thing for brands to think about. And something I know that has worked really, really well for other brands is Facebook groups. And that can really help become a home for somewhere that people who like and value your product to talk about and connect, which is something we've not actually explored, which is definitely on my list. I can't believe I'm on this live by myself. So yeah, that's that. I think community, especially when you're thinking about the difference between a offline business and an online business, and we're seeing this sort of change in our high streets and this sort of the challenges and struggles that have come over the last 18 months. I think that the brands that are going to survive on the high streets. Hi, Emmy.
Did you just carry on doing your LinkedIn live without me? I love it.
I carried on. I'm just going to finish my sentence that I was saying to everybody that was still here. I think the brands that will survive on the high street are those that can create that sense of experience and community. But I think it's the same for an online business, that feeling that you're part of something. And I think that's something that we've always tried to do. And I think it's definitely something that's worth thinking about. Yeah, Emmy, I carried on talking.
I love it. By the way, you are just like the best guest ever. I don't even need to turn up to do the interview. I
was slightly worried, I'm not going to lie.
I just set it live and you continue. Honestly, Martha, you are amazing. You've just totally nailed that and managed to continue. And I didn't hear all that you were saying, apart from at the end about the customer experience. It's so critical to success, isn't it? And it's amazing how many brands haven't actually been through their customer journey themselves and kind of like looked at each of those touch points. And also community, is really important. And I was reading some research the other day, and actually I'll re-find it and I'll share it when, in this post and when I am creating my LinkedIn newsletter and stuff. But it was saying something around the fact that, communities are just growing and people want to be part of communities, don't they? They want to be part of something. They want to be part of brands that care. So that's so important. Now, one of the things I'd love to talk about is, if you don't mind, very quickly, your decision to go 100% digital, because, I work with lots of digital first businesses, but they always generally are still wanting to sell in retail or sell to partners. So, and we talked a bit about this before, but I'd love you to share with everyone, why did you decide to do that, and what's the implications?
I think it came back to thinking about what we were trying to cause as a brand and what our kind of, USP is. And for us, it's all about, we talk a lot about creating delightful individual stationery. So it's about that kind of personal element of our stationery is so important. And for us, that it means a customer at the point of purchase can create something that's bespoke to them. And we felt that, by selling into shops, you're losing that element of the customer being able to kind of bespoke and customize. So everything we make is made to order. It's made and shipped within 24 hours. And we felt that you're slightly losing that element if you sell in shops. And I think it's very, very easy as a founder to to kind of get a bit of magpie syndrome, where you see people doing things and you think, oh, that looks lovely and shiny over there, I must do a bit of that. And I think that's certainly the case with wholesale. I think a lot of people feel that maybe that's something that they need to do. but I don't think it's right for every business. And I think with wholesale, you're looking at very low margins and volume. And we made the decision that that wasn't something that we wanted to pursue, partly because I think we just felt it wasn't right for us and what we were trying to cause, and partly because it feels like a bit of a game we didn't really want to chase. And I do think for us, not just kind of what the customer receives, but also that experience. We really want to be able to connect with the customer and give them that personal experience. Having said that doesn't mean we only sell on our own digital platform. We have looked at other marketplaces. So we have had a lot of success through Not on the High Street. We've worked with Jules's Friends of Jules marketplace. We did a trial with Next on their platform. And we're currently doing a pilot in Australia, running a production facility in Australia, and through that we're also doing the Australian marketplace, Hard to Find. So we've not done Amazon, we've not done eBay, and we've not done Etsy. So we are quite selective in what we have decided to do. And I think in some cases those marketplaces have been very, very good. They really helped us in ways that we wouldn't have been able to do. And in some cases, they've really not been good. So I think it's about picking and choosing the distribution channels that are right for you and are right for your business. I think where we have the most growth is our direct sales through our website. It's where we give the customer the full experience, and that's very much our focus. But Not on the High Street in particular is really important to us, because that has that in itself is a huge amount of business that we have nurtured and supported, and we have a great relationship with the team there.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? You were saying that the customer experience and connecting with the customer is so important, and your brand is so important, and therefore your distribution channels and the partners that you use are also going to be super important, aren't they? And need to resonate with your brand and what you're doing. Martha, I like to keep these short and sweet. I do realise I missed a big chunk of it, so I
think some people were really interested in it.
We did have a comment.
I could do a 1 minute summary if you like.
Can you? But just to say, did you know that someone, I think this lady's based in Mexico, called Joanna, she left you a comment saying, "You're doing great, Martha, enjoying your customer journey stories."
That was when you left, Emmy. That was when you left.
Yeah, so do, just so that I can hear it before we go, remind for everyone else.
On the funding thing. So I think, as I mentioned at the start, we're very much bootstrapped. At the beginning, it wasn't a business that started with a lot of money. And I'm super proud of that. We were profitable every year, got to 6.5 years down the business. All the profit that we made kind of reinvested. We're growing every year. And I think for every business founder, it's a really hard decision in terms of, do you want to raise investment? Is that the right thing for you? And it's not necessarily the right thing for everybody, but I think it kind of comes back to, I'm a huge believer in having a plan. I think I obviously love planning. And I think looking at that kind of 5-year plan and working out where you want to go, and working out whether you've got the funds and resources within your business to help facilitate that. And I think if you're growing fast and you've got the cash flow and you're able to make all the decisions that you want to make and go as fast as you want to go, you might not need to raise the investment. But for us, I think we reached a point where I felt that we weren't thinking big enough, and there are certain things that we want to do and we want to try that we didn't have the funds within the business to do at that point. And we have a very clear 5-year plan as to kind of where we want to go. And I think what raising the investment has allowed us to do, and allowed me to do in particular, is take that step back a little bit and be a bit more strategic. It's allowed me to take on some extra roles within my team. It's allowed me to do this very quick now. It's allowed me to make some decisions that I wouldn't have otherwise been able to make. So I think for us, it was a right decision at the right time. So I would say to anybody who's interested in even raising investment, that they first of all need to be really clear on where they're trying to get to. Be really clear on the funding options available, which are venture capital firms, which I would not go near, angel investors, and equity crowdfunding. So for us, we went down the equity crowdfunding route. So we're actually approached our communities. We've got 500 of our customers who are now invested in us, which is actually wonderful, because those 500 people are now our sort of biggest supporters. and look at what that could give you, and whether that's a kind of route you want to go down. So that's a really, really quick summary. But
I love that though, that you're getting your customers to invest in you, and they're your big brand ambassadors, and they're shouting from the rooftops about you, and also, you're so right. You don't always need to take investment, do you? It's not something that is given, and it's amazing that you managed to get to where you did. But if your plan, and I love the way you're dreaming of something big, and I would love to know what all those things are that you've got in the pipeline that you're going to do, because it sounds like there's lots of exciting opportunities. But you made that as a really you're so clear about the future that it then becomes a no-brainer to get funding, doesn't it? And it's not something that you're thinking you should do because that's what founders do. And I love the way that you bootstrapped it from the beginning, because I think it's really, really important, because it probably teaches you how to spend your money really wisely.
I think it does. I think if you start off with investment, I think maybe you spend on things that are kind of unnecessary, and we've never done that. And even the decisions that we've made since we raised the money, I feel have all been really, really thought through. And it's amazing, actually, when we approached our community, our biggest investor is a lady who follows us on Instagram, who invested £25,000. I mean, no pressure.
Amazing.
I know. So we've actually, we've made some really interesting connections there as well. And I think I've heard some people say, oh, I don't really want to be accountable to investors. And I understand that. But actually, for me, I really like the accountability. I think it's so easy when you're running your business to, for each you're always doing stuff, so you're so busy. I really like the fact that every quarter I'm doing a summary on what we've delivered in that, delivered in the last 3 months. And it really focuses the mind. So it's actually, for me, been a really good experience. And I'm really happy to talk about it with anybody that's interested.
Oh, that's so lovely of you, because you're probably super busy anyway. Well, you must be super busy. You've got a lot on. I'm so sorry, Martha, about me leaving you to do your own interview for 5 minutes. And the internet has not been great today, which is a shame, because normally it's fine. But it's been lovely getting you on. Maybe we can have another catch up at some point when you're a bit further down the line with all these things, and hopefully the Wi-Fi will be working. But it's been great having you here, and thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, lovely to chat, Emily. Have a lovely rest of your day, and thank you everybody who's tuned in.
Bye everyone. Bye.